I love people as I meet them one by one. People are just wonderful as individuals. You see the whole universe in their eyes if you look carefully. But as soon as they begin to group, as soon as they begin to clot, when there are 5 of them or 10, or even groups as small as 2, they begin to change. They sacrifice the beauty of the individual.
George Carlin was an iconic comedian and social critic who had an unparalleled ability to dissect society's absurdities and hypocrisies. Known for his sharp wit and unflinching honesty, Carlin challenged cultural norms, political ideologies, and human behavior. His commentary, often laced with humor, explored topics that made audiences laugh, think, and sometimes squirm.
People think they have a right to not have their feelings hurt.
I know.
They actually think that's a given right that the forefathers wrote in that said, your feelings, they can't be hurt. And that is, you could say whatever you want as far as hurting someone's feelings.
That's that left-wing paternalism. Big white.
Oh, yeah.
Big white daddy knows best.
Carlin had a keen eye for the ironies of left-wing politics. He observed how modern liberals often champion free speech, but paradoxically endorse censorship under the guise of hate speech protections. To Carlin, this was a form of paternalism, an assumption that individuals couldn't handle offensive ideas and required protection from discomfort. He found it ironic that the same people who preach tolerance and open-mindedness were often the first to silence dissenting voices.
We all got to understand that we could expect censorship from the right wing. Over time, we know that's where it's going to come from. But to expect it from the left wing, from the politically correct people in the campuses, especially the Eastern Ivy League campuses, that caught me by surprise.
Carlin believed this paternalism was rooted in elite educational institutions, especially Ivy League campuses, where political correctness had taken root. He remarked that while censorship from the right was expected due to their ties to traditional family values and religion, the left's embrace of speech restrictions caught him by surprise.
The conservatives have always hid behind family values and religion, and it seems like what the liberals hide behind is things like hate speech. Like that's how they get you to kind of not say what kind of smashes their ideology.
Yeah, this country went off the cliff and it's just in free fall now.
Carlin's observations weren't limited to politics. He often described humanity as an arrogant species prone to overreach and destruction. From environmental degradation to societal excess, he saw humans as wasteful creatures who laid waste to the planet in pursuit of fleeting pleasures. Whether it was tearing up dunes with all-terrain vehicles or thoughtlessly consuming resources, Carlin believed people had lost their connection to nature and reality. For Carlin, this detachment from responsibility symbolized humanity's free fall. He viewed nature as a corrective force, patiently waiting to restore balance. While humans polluted and exploited, nature, in its quiet resilience, would eventually reclaim what had been lost. Carlin's critiques of politicians were legendary. Unlike most people, he didn't just blame the leaders, he blamed the voters. Politicians, he argued, were a reflection of the society that elected them, selfish, ignorant, and short-sighted. If the public consisted of uninformed individuals, it was only natural that their leaders would mirror those traits. He mocked the idea that term limits or new elections could solve systemic problems. To Carlin, it wasn't the politicians who sucked, it was the public. This harsh perspective led him to abstain from voting, a decision he justified by claiming it would free him from responsibility for the outcomes. In his view, voters who elected dishonest and incompetent leaders had no right to complain about the mess they created.
God damn, there's a lot of stupid bastards walking around. Carry a little pad and pencil with you. You wind up with 30 or 40 names by the end of the day.
Carlin often marveled at the sheer number of truly clueless individuals one could encounter daily. To him, stupidity wasn't rare. It was painfully average. Think about how dumb the average person is, he'd say. And remember, half of them are dumber than that. It wasn't difficult to spot these individuals. Within seconds of conversation, their lack of awareness became glaringly obvious. Yet, Carlin wasn't content to stop at stupidity. He highlighted a second category: people who weren't necessarily dumb, but were utterly full of nonsense. These individuals, with their self-important opinions and hollow rhetoric, stood out just as quickly. And then, of course, there were the downright unhinged, those whose actions defied all reason, blending ignorance, arrogance, and lunacy into a bewildering cocktail of chaos.
It's not
but it's an art.
But it is an art. It has to do with interpreting the world as you see it and then writing something and then delivering it verbally. And I found a very liberating position for myself as an artist.
Carlin often described himself as a detached observer of humanity's decline. By giving up on the human race and its flawed systems, he found freedom to critique it without emotional attachment. He viewed the world as a circus, an endless performance of absurdity and chaos, which he could enjoy from a safe distance.
And gave up on the American dream and culture and nation, and decided that I didn't care about the outcome. And that gave me a lot of freedom from a kind of distant platform to be sort of amused, to watch the whole thing with a combination of wonder and pity, and try to put that into words.
For Carlin, this detachment allowed him to explore the darker side of comedy. He rooted for catastrophic events, like asteroids or comets, to reset humanity back to a more primitive state. This wasn't mere nihilism, but a reflection of his belief that humans, in their arrogance, had lost their way.
Not having an emotional stake in whether this experiment with human beings works. I really don't care. I love people as I meet them one by one. People are just wonderful as individuals. You see the whole universe in their eyes if you look carefully. But as soon as they begin to group, as soon as they begin to clot, when there are 5 of them or 10, or even groups as small as 2, they begin to change. They sacrifice the beauty of the individual for the sake of the group.
Carlin had a unique perspective on people. He loved them individually, finding beauty and complexity in each person. However, as soon as people formed groups, their individuality was sacrificed for conformity. He noticed how group dynamics led to tribalism, intolerance, and the erosion of personal identity.
It was all under the control of groups now, whether it's business, religion, political people, or what, and I would distance myself from wishing for a good outcome. Let it do what it's going to do, and I'll enjoy it as an entertainment.
This observation extended to all types of groups, from families to nations. Carlin believed that the larger the group, the more dangerous it became. Whether it was a political party, a religious sect, or a social movement, he saw groups as breeding grounds for division and hatred.
And always implicit in the work is some positive outcome, that this is all going to work. If only we do this, if only we pass that bill, if only we elect him, if only we do that. It's not true. It's circling the drain time for humans. I believe this.
Carlin was skeptical of political and social movements that promised change. He believed these efforts were doomed to fail because they didn't address the root cause, human nature. People, in his view, were inherently selfish and short-sighted. As long as this remained true, no law, leader, or movement could bring lasting improvement.
And when you say to yourself, I don't care what happens, it just gives you a broader perspective for the art, for the words to emerge, to not care. That's what happened in that 92 show. That's why I could say the planet is fine, the people are... Because the planet will outlast us. It will be here and it will be fine.
Carlin often expressed a dark hope for humanity's future. He envisioned a world where a natural disaster or cosmic event wiped the slate clean, allowing nature to start anew. This wasn't an expression of hatred for humanity, but a reflection of his belief that the species had outlived its usefulness.
And I'll enjoy it for the entertainment. There's a little bit of a sick part in this, too. Yeah. I root for the big comet. I root for the big asteroid to come and make things right. That's the way I put it.
Stir things up.
Yes, to get us back where we were before the first one came and knocked out these dinosaurs and let the ferrets grow up.
We're talking about comets on this show tonight.
I know it.
He imagined watching this cataclysmic event unfold on live television, marveling at the spectacle. For Carlin, this would be the ultimate entertainment, a fitting conclusion to humanity's chaotic performance. Carlin's humor and insights remain as relevant today as ever. His ability to confront uncomfortable truths and challenge societal norms continues to inspire audiences. While his views were often bleak, they were also a call to reflect, question, and perhaps laugh at the absurdity of it all.
People accept it, not very enthusiastically, but they understand that it says we the people in that preamble. It doesn't say them the thises and those the thatses. It says, hey.
We got on this boat.
And people who hate government are involved in a form of suicide because government is self-government. And if you hate the government, you hate yourself.
Yeah.
By channeling his frustration into comedy, Carlin turned despair into art. His work serves as a reminder that even in a world spiraling out of control, there's always room for wit, honesty, and a bit of dark humor. Remember to leave a like and subscribe to our channel if you found this content valuable. See you in the next video.